everyone. Welcome back to Across the Pond. I'm Ashley, your American host, currently sitting here with a very large coffee because honestly, I did not sleep enough last night.
And I'm Bridget, your British host, also underslept, also overcaffeinated, and currently staring at 3 unopened letters from the government that I have been ignoring for 2 weeks.
Oh my gosh, Bridget, open them!
I will, eventually. Possibly when they become legally urgent.
And that is actually a perfect intro to today's episode, because today we are talking about something called adulting.
Adulting, which, for anyone who hasn't heard this word, it's a fairly recent term, mostly from American English, that means doing the boring, responsible tasks that adult life requires. Taxes, budgets, doctor's appointments, those letters.
Yes, things nobody actually taught us, but that we are somehow expected to just know and handle cheerfully.
With a smile, apparently.
So we're going to talk about all of it. The financial stuff, the life admin, the existential moments where you think, wait, is this really what being a grown-up is? And as always, we'll be looking at how this experience is different in the US versus the UK.
And there are quite a few differences, it turns out. Some of them genuinely surprised me.
Okay, I'm excited. Let's get into it. Welcome to adulting. Population, all of us. Confused. Okay, let's start with money. Because I feel like this is the number one thing nobody properly explains to you when you're growing up. Agreed entirely. You leave school or university knowing how to analyze a Shakespeare play and absolutely nothing about how a mortgage works. Right? Like, I remember the first time I had to do my own taxes in the US. I was 22, completely lost, and I just guessed. I basically guessed. Oh, no. It was fine, eventually, but I had no idea what I was doing. And the American tax system is genuinely complicated. You have to file your own return every year, figure out your deductions, decide which forms apply to you. That sounds exhausting. In the UK, for most people who are employed by a company, taxes are handled automatically through your paycheck. It's called PAYE, which stands for Pay As You Earn. The government takes your tax before you even see the money.
Wait, really?
So you don't have to file anything? Many people don't, no. Though if you're self-employed or have multiple income streams, you do have to file what's called a self-assessment, which is its own special kind of joy. Special kind of joy. I love that. So for vocabulary, to file taxes means to submit your tax paperwork to the government. A tax return is the document you fill in, and a deduction is something you can subtract from your taxable income, like work expenses, to pay less tax overall. Very useful words to know. And on the subject of money, budget. Do you budget, Ashley? I try to budget. I have a budgeting app. I look at it sometimes. That is the most relatable thing I have ever heard. Budget as a verb means to plan how you spend your money. I'm on a budget means you're being careful with spending. And to overspend, which I do regularly, means to spend more than you planned. I prefer the British phrase, I've been a bit spendy this month. It sounds more forgivable somehow. A bit spendy. I love that. Filing that away immediately. Okay, next big adulting topic, healthcare. And this one is very different between our two countries. Quite dramatically so, yes. In the UK, we have the NHS, the National Health Service, which is a public healthcare system. It's funded by taxes, and most basic medical care is free at the point of use. So if I need to see a GP, a general practitioner, which is what we call a family doctor, I don't pay for the appointment. Okay, I have to be honest. Every time you explain the NHS, I feel a little bit envious. It has its challenges, to be fair. Waiting times can be quite long. But yes, the fundamental principle is that you don't go bankrupt because you got ill. In the US, healthcare is mostly private, which means you need health insurance. And if you don't have good insurance, medical bills can be absolutely enormous. Like, people have gone into serious debt from a single hospital stay. That is genuinely frightening. It's a big conversation in American politics, honestly. A lot of people want a more public system. But right now, for most Americans, figuring out your health insurance is a major part of adulting. You have to understand things like your premium, that's the monthly payment you make for insurance, and your deductible, the amount you pay out of pocket before insurance kicks in. Words worth learning for sure, especially if you ever plan to live or work in the US. And on the topic of bureaucracy, that's a great word, by the way, bureaucracy. It means the system of official rules and paperwork that organizations, especially governments, use, often used with a sigh. Always with a sigh. So, bureaucracy in everyday speech usually implies that something is unnecessarily complicated. I tried to change my address and got caught in a bureaucratic nightmare. I tried to update my passport last year. I aged approximately 5 years in the process. Some things are universal.
I want to take the conversation somewhere slightly more philosophical for a moment, if that's all right.
Oh, yes, I love this. Go for it.
So, there's this idea, and I think it's become more prominent in recent years, that each generation faces a different version of what it means to grow up, and that some of the traditional milestones of adulthood have become much harder to reach.
Like buying a house, you mean?
That's a big one, yes. Home ownership, owning the place you live in, used to be considered a fairly standard life milestone, something most people could expect to achieve in their 30s. Now, in cities like London or San Francisco, it feels almost impossible for the average person.
The housing market in California is genuinely out of control. A lot of my friends are in their 30s, have good jobs, and still rent because buying just isn't within reach. To rent means paying monthly to live somewhere without owning it. A landlord is the person who owns the property and rents it to you. And the housing market refers to the general state of buying and selling homes, prices, availability, that sort of thing. And there's a term in the US, house poor, which means you bought a house, but so much of your income goes to the mortgage that you have very little money left for anything else. What a perfectly grim phrase. Right? English is nothing if not precise. But beyond the practical stuff, do you ever have those moments where you think, I'm an adult, but I genuinely do not feel like one? Regularly. I think there's a widespread and largely unspoken assumption that at some point you will feel like a proper grown-up, confident, sorted, on top of things. And then you realize that feeling never actually arrives. I'm 34, and I still feel faintly surprised when someone asks me to make a decision. Oh my gosh. There's actually a psychological term for this, impostor syndrome. It's the feeling that you're not as competent as people think you are, and that at any moment someone is going to find out. It's remarkably common. Studies suggest it affects the majority of people at some point, particularly in professional settings. So, if you've ever felt that way, you are in very, very good company.
Okay, let's talk about work and careers, because I think this is another area where the pressure of being an adult really shows up. Absolutely. And again, there are some interesting cultural differences here. So, in the US, there's a very strong cultural narrative around ambition and hustle. The idea that you should always be working towards something bigger, earning more, climbing higher. There's even a phrase, the American dream, which originally meant that anyone, regardless of background, could achieve success through hard work. And do you think that idea still holds up? Honestly, I think it's more complicated now. The gap between different economic groups has widened a lot. Social mobility, the ability to move up in society based on your own efforts, is something people debate a lot in the US right now.
It's a big conversation in the UK as well. We have a strong class system, historically at least, and despite progress, where you come from still influences where you end up more than it probably should. Class system is such a interesting concept to explain. In the US, we don't really talk about class in the same way. We have wealth inequality, but culturally, most Americans would describe themselves as middle class, even when they aren't really. Whereas in Britain, class is practically a personality trait. People will volunteer the information. Really? Oh, yes, I'm very much working class, or I suppose I'm middle class, though I went to a comprehensive. It comes up surprisingly often. That's fascinating. So, vocabulary from this section. Ambition means a strong desire to achieve something. Hustle, as a noun or verb, means working hard and persistently, often with urgency. Social mobility is the ability to move between different levels of society. And wealth inequality refers to the unequal distribution of money and assets across a population. Heavy words, but important ones, and all very much part of the modern adult conversation. Exactly. Being a grown up isn't just paying your bills, it's understanding the world you're paying them in.
Right. Before we close, let's do our vocabulary roundup. There were quite a few good ones today.
Okay, let's go. Adulting. Doing the boring but necessary tasks of grown-up life. Taxes, admin, appointments, all of it.
To file taxes. To submit your tax paperwork to the government. A tax return. The document you fill in. A deduction. An expense you can subtract to lower the amount of tax you owe.
Budget, as a verb, to plan your spending. To overspend, to spend more than planned. And the very British, a bit spendy, which I am adopting immediately.
You're welcome.
Premium, the regular payment for insurance. Deductible, the amount you pay yourself before insurance covers the rest. Bureaucracy, the complicated official system of rules and paperwork usually used with frustration.
To rent. Paying to live somewhere without owning it. Landlord, the owner of a rented property. The housing market, the overall state of property prices and availability. And house poor, owning a home but having little money left because the costs are so high.
Impostor syndrome, feeling like you're not as capable as people think and fearing being found out. Social mobility, the ability to move up in society through effort. Wealth inequality, the unequal spread of money across a population.
And the American dream, the belief that hard work leads to success, regardless of background. Currently under active philosophical review.
That might be the most accurate thing you've ever said. Okay, that is a wrap on today's episode of Across the Pond. This one felt a little deeper than usual, and honestly, I loved it.
Same. It's good to have these conversations. Growing up is confusing, money is stressful, and none of us really know what we're doing. But at least we can talk about it.
Exactly! And if this episode helped you learn some new vocabulary along the way, even better. Please give us a like and subscribe on YouTube if you haven't already. It genuinely helps us grow and reach more English learners around the world.
And leave us a comment. We'd love to know. What is the one thing about being an adult that nobody warned you about? We are very curious.
Mine is definitely taxes. Nobody warned me about taxes. Okay, we'll see you next time on Across the Pond. Bye!
Cheerio, everyone. Open your letters.